traveling across the state. We're in El Paso. Oh boy, I can't remember. We went from Texarkana to Tyler to all over the state. San Antonio yesterday. People, different backgrounds, people from different first languages. Some people have been here for many generations, like my family. Some people have been here for 5 weeks. But Texans share a lot in common. We enjoy freedom. We believe in honesty and integrity. We want our kids to have a better future, more opportunities than we did, and we share something else in common. We're ready for a new governor. We need a governor who shoots straight, uses common sense. We prefer somebody who's actually built businesses and met a payroll, especially in times like these, when Rick Perry's left our state with an $18 billion budget hole, no plan for the future. The state is now, the debt of the state has increased by 2.5 times since he's been governor. We need a governor who knows how to run a state in a business-like fashion, because after all, these public offices, whether they be boards and commissions or employees of the state, they should be doing the public service. They should not be used as part of a political machine to re-elect the same person year after year after year. Isn't that right?
You bet, they are.
Stay out of our retirement fund. And so what did you say, sir? Say it again.
Stay out of our retirement fund.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you know what he's talking about, but let me put it real plain. Under Rick Perry, he's appointed people who are part of his campaign finance team, his campaign re-election finance team, to be in charge of the state pension fund for teachers. This is money that was contributed by teachers and by taxpayers. As a matter of fact, the person who is chairman of that is now chairman of the fundraising for his re-election. And during the last several years, the amount of fees has exploded, even though the fund is now $21 billion in the hole compared to being $5 billion surplus when Perry took office. $600 million in fees paid out to people, which is more than it was in the prior 10 years combined. And it turns out that people who he appointed to that board have been raising money from the people who've been given the teachers' funds to invest, and they were paid millions and millions of dollars worth of fees. That kind of stuff is par for the course. It's routine. It's expected under Rick Perry. When I'm governor, we'll make that illegal.
Yeah.
Right now, ask any school board member in any school board in this region, and I don't care what party they vote in, primary they vote in, or any superintendent. And there's more and more rules and regulations imposed on local school districts from Austin under Rick Perry, less and less control by the parents and educators and the school board members in those school districts. And what's worse, they're pressuring teachers to teach people how to take multiple choice tests. It's called teaching to the test, rather than teaching our kids what they need to succeed in the future. As a result, over 60% of our kids now go into four-year colleges, if they can afford them anymore, okay? They need remedial work when they get to college. That's just wrong. And what's even worse is we're not training Texans for the vocational and technical skills for the high-wage jobs. We need to restore technical and vocational education. Here in the Permian Basin, we could be the world's best at some of the skills that start within our high school and go through the community colleges for the oil and gas service business. I've been in the oil and gas service business. I can tell you, a few years ago, there were massive shortages of skilled trades in the oil and gas service business. So often what had been done with the apprenticeship programs, journeyman programs, they shriveled away. And you know that it's ridiculous that we import people now from abroad to do some of our skilled trades, everything from nurses to welders, rather than training Texans to do those jobs. If I'm governor, we would be training Texans to do the jobs, not content to import people from abroad. And we need a governor that shoots straight with people. I mean, look, right now, Permian Basin has a new oil play, blessed to have a little bit of a boom. I'm sure Rick Perry will take credit for that, right? Have you seen the commercials? He takes credit for all the job growth in Texas, even though in the last 10 years, we've had only a third of the job growth that we did in the 1990s. Under Governor George W. Bush and Ann Richards, there were 3 times as many jobs during that decade created in Texas as under Rick Perry. And right now, our unemployment rate in Texas, which is almost double what it was when he took office, is a higher unemployment rate than in Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I don't know about you, but I don't want to brag about having an 8.3% unemployment rate. We have 1 million people unemployed for the first time. Rick Perry says we ought to be content with that. We shouldn't change governors because things were better off than Michigan. Now he's true on this. In August, Michigan was #1 in the loss of jobs in the country. They have the auto industry. But we were #2 in August in the loss of jobs. That's not worth something worth bragging about, is it? Okay. We want somebody who will work to find high-wage jobs for Texans. We need more Tier 1 institutions, including serving West Texas and the High Plains and the Panhandle. We want somebody who knows how to use taxpayers' funds well. I know I built businesses. I know what it is to build businesses. I'm tired of seeing our taxpayer funds and the funds paid by this restaurant and other businesses being siphoned to these enterprise funds and emerging technology funds and then paid to Perry's donors. Don't you think there ought to be a separation between those who get grants and those who give money to the governor's campaign?
Yeah!
The governor should have been working on balancing our budget for the next legislative session rather than working on his book, Fed Up, that he co-authored with Newt Gingrich. We need a governor who's in it for Texas, not somebody who's in it for themselves. And that's why this election is so important. The whole world will be watching. They may have a stereotype about Texas based on what our State Board of Education did to put politics in our textbooks rather than making textbooks more affordable. You know, but now's our chance. And people here in the Permian Basin could be at the forefront of that, where we say, hey, common sense, competent, business-like government is something that we embrace in Texas. Cronyism, we're tired of. This is the time in Texas when everybody has an equal say in the future direction of our state. Everybody has one vote. And for some people, if you get out and you ask your neighbors to go out to vote, you can multiply your force. Let us every single day remind our friends and neighbors of how important it is to get out and vote for somebody who's in it for Texas, in it for the future. The first person to die in the war in Iraq was a Mexican citizen serving in our army, as do hundreds, and really there's been thousands of non-citizens serving in our military to protect the values on which this country is based and to earn their citizenship. The biggest difference between a legal resident and a citizen is what? The right to what?
Vote.
Okay? There's been people dying for that right to vote. And so set a good example for the young people. Go to the polls. Encourage your friends and neighbors to do so. There's no reason for any of your Republican friends to hold their nose and vote for Perry just for party line, right?
Yeah.
Let them know that Texas is ready to move forward. Texas is ready for change, and we're going to have a new governor come November 2nd.